G'day, welcome back to another video. Today I am going to be throwing in some DS series BC Racing coilovers in the Sylvia. Just to replace, we've got some mismatched coilovers in the front. These are old school Cuscos, straight out of the 90s, the old school top hats, and then I don't even know what these are in the back. Something. Yep, whatever those are. So these are just old school. I basically just want to update the car. Everything else is pretty new, so suspension, brakes, they all sort of go hand in hand, so may as well update them, and I kind of want to get a little bit lower, just see how low I can go really. So yeah, I'll, as you can see, I've already got the car in the air and the wheel off because I was just looking at everything and making sure I can set myself up for success. But first things first, what you want to do, get the car up off the ground with some wheels off, 3 jack stands in. I've got the back off the subframe and the front off the chassis rails. Give it a good shake test, make sure it's not going anywhere, and then yeah, take your wheels off and we can get started basically. So I'll cut open this box and we'll see what we get from BC Racing. Jeez, they really did some damage. Oh, look at that. Nice, new and shiny. Got some new BC Racing C-spanners. New hardware on the top with the camber plates. Cool. Let's. I'll take them out of the box and lay them out and show you what's what. Cool, so this is what you get in the box. You got the 2 front coilovers. You can see them by the, basically the difference in the bottom and the top. Now, you know they're fronts. I'll just come in so you get some better light. Is because the fronts have the camber plates and they're 3 bolts. You can obviously, there's your dampening adjustment. And because of the way they bolt into the knuckle bottom there, is got 2 bolt holes, and sort of like a C. And the rears are a lot more simple. They're just 2 bolts at the top, there's your damper adjustment, and a single hole through the bottom, which goes straight under the knuckle. So these are super straightforward and easy to install. Quickly go over how you can adjust the height of these rather than adjusting preload and stuff like that, because I'm not super versed in preload, but I do know how to raise and lower a coilover. Now, to raise or lower your coilovers, basically you can see there's 3 rings on this middle part between the lower part and the spring on your coilover. Now, the lower ring is to adjust the ride height. These 2 here are for the preload on the spring. So I'm not super well versed in it. I'm just going to leave these loaded as they are from the factory. And then if I want them stiffer or softer, I will just play with the damper up top. But I want these things as low as I can possibly get them. I just want to go stupid with it. So what you'd do is you'd break this collar here all the way up, find out your distance between your top and your bottom where you want them, make sure they're set the same. Screw this bottom part all the way up, making sure that they're symmetrical with each other, so when you put them in the car they're the same height. But what I'm going to do first is I'll take out the rear coilover. I'll set up the rears first to see how low, because I can, before I jacked the car up and took the wheel off, I'll just roll the wheel over here. So the quarter sat about there on my wheel, so I can gauge off that coilover there against this how far extra I want to go. So I want to bring it down to probably about halfway down the wheel, the tyre I should say, so probably another 15, 20, 25 mil would be ideal, and get this right tucked up underneath. Take this one out, set it beside the new coilover, set them the same, and then I'll go 10 to 20 mil further lower on this one, and then that'll give me a good base, and we can go, sort of play with it from there. So I'll set the camera up and I'll buzz this coilover off. In the back here, apologies for the frame rate, doesn't like going in the dark. There's two bolts, take them off, and then one at the bottom, which I'll get the camera in there so you can see. That one there, so It's literally 3 bolts for the rear and it'll come out. I find it's easier if you do the bottom one first, pop it off, and then yeah, you can basically work your way around with the top one. Sweet, so once you get to the last bolt, get it to the last couple of threads and you can sort of reach your hand under there and hold it with your right hand, and then just back the last nut off, and then you can essentially, coilover will drop down and just feed it back through here and out. And you've got it on the ground. As you can see, old school 90s coilover. Preloads set a lot differently to what they come from factory at BC, but they know what they're doing with suspension, so I'll leave them at that. But as you can see, it's a fair whack shorter, so this would probably sit, say 20-30 mil higher than what it was sitting, and I want it to sit 20-30 mil lower than that if I can get it. So basically I'll grab the C-spanners and I'll take that collar off and wind it in until I get sort of 20-30 mil past this, and then we'll put it back in the car. Sweet, so I bottomed out and then backed it out half a turn, this bottom collar on the BC, and it got, you know, give or take what I wanted out of it, slightly lower, and then we've got a larger spring travel, so that should feel pretty good. I'll quickly set this other one up the exact same as the right hand side, and I'll throw that in off camera because yeah, you don't need to see me do it twice. And then we'll move on to the fronts. So putting it in is the same way as taking it out, just I wasn't going to film it because I couldn't do it by myself and they're both my hands, and you wouldn't have seen it on the camera, but you feed it back up through behind the arms, up through the camber arm, up into the bottom, line up the 2 bolts, and then with one hand hold it and the other hand reach in and get at least that top nut done, and then you can put the other 2 on, and then on the bottom just slide the coil straight into the knuckle and tighten all the bolts up, and you got a new coilover in there set to your desired height. Pretty easy. Alright, so the rears are done. Took 10 minutes and it feels like I've been for a swim. It is ridiculously hot and humid in here, and I need to wipe down my glasses because I can't actually see out of them right now. Yeah, so pretty straightforward. It'd be a lot easier if you had a second set of hands just to hold the coilover in place while you put it in, but you can do it by yourself basically. So we're done with the back. I haven't put the wheels on yet. Now I will mention that even though you set both of them the same, chances are when you get the car on the ground, you'll actually have to adjust one slightly higher than the other to get the same fitment, I guess, across both sides. These are 90s cars after all, they're not 100% symmetrical, so it is what it is. We've got a good baseline to go off of. I have a feeling on this car, the back left actually sits lower than the back right, so as long as I max out the back right on how low it can go, I can always go up on the back left, which is the passenger side, so I've got room to work with. So onto the fronts. Now the fronts are a little more in depth with 1 extra bolt. It's honestly 2 bolts in the front that hold onto the knuckle upright. Pop out your brake lines where you got braided or softs. Basically undo these 2, it'll drop the knuckle out, and then it's 3 bolts in the top. Same concept, 1 extra bolt, 1 extra step. So now this one is a little more tricky. That bottom bolt's going to have a bit of tension on it, so just throw the female nut on the end once you've taken it all the way off, and then you can get a hammer and just smack that female nut, and it protects the threads basically, and it takes it all the way out. Take it off, give it a wiggle, and it should come straight out, just like that. Now, I probably should have mentioned this earlier. The bolt nut size on the bottom and the rear is a 17 mil female and 17 mil held on the male bolt. and the 2 females on the top are 12mm. Now for the front, 17mm for both the lowers, and then the top 3 in the shocks, in the towers I should say, are 14mm. So get that one close to being out, and then yeah, 2 hands and just hold the shock up and wind that last one out. So we get the old one out next to the new one. Now I will say that I probably should have mentioned this at the start again, but I'm still learning all of this because explaining how to do it. Your 2 front coilovers do have an orientation, front left and front right. Your rears don't, because there's no, they basically don't need it. Your fronts, however, have got the brake line brackets or tabs, and the way that these, I guess, bottom mounts are positioned corresponds with what side of the car they're meant to go on. So even the old school Cuscos have got an R for right, which would be the front right because it's the front coilover, and these ones have got it there, FR for front right and FL for front left, which would be front drivers, front passengers, because you're basically talking about it like you're sitting in the car. So we'll do the same thing as the rear. You want to make sure that you're measuring the base off. Obviously the bottom collars are going to be different lengths because they're different manufacturers, but we make sure the top 2 plates are lined up, and then we're going off these bolt holes. So I've got to come up a little bit with the, sorry, it will come down, I guess you could say, with this one, and then yeah, we'll stick it back in the car. Cool, so I got both fronts measured out. Now with these, because they've got the brackets on them, just count how many full rotations you do going up or down. I did 5 up, which will lower the car, and that's put it just slightly lower than this. I sort of like a car with a bit of reverse rake, so lower in the rear, slightly higher in the front. Just a personal preference. You can do the other way. Lower in the front, higher in the rear. It really doesn't matter. I just like the look of it basically, so I haven't gone too much lower in the front, but I have gone as low as I can in the back, and then I can work my way up as I need. So I'm happy with that. 5 full turns on the bottom collar and then locked it in. Just took my knuckle out with it. So we'll get them back in the car in the correct sides. I'll film just one side. Yeah, I'll put the wheels back on it, we'll get it back on the ground and see how it looks and see what we need to adjust. Now, when you're putting in the fronts, the top 3 bolts in the strut tower are really easy because there's nothing in the way. You can just hold the shock in and hand tighten these up. Now, the bottom 2 that go into the knuckle, this knuckle and mower, like basically everything for the arms down below will move. A good solution is just to get a jack, scissor jack, whatever, just throw it underneath the back where the ball joint is basically, and just put enough pressure on it where it keeps it in place. And then you can watch this side here, sorry about the frame rate, we've got 1 hole down there, 1 hole up there, and just move the jack up and guide it with your hands and it'll just move everything into place. So get a bolt and just hold it in the side and jack the jack up and just push the bolt in. Do the bottom one first, because then you can pivot the bottom and get the top. It's a lot easier that way. Once you get the bolts in, drop the jack down and you're done. Make sure the top 3 are tightened, you get the 2 in the bottom and the knuckle, and then you can grab your brake line. I'll just drop it in there for now, and fix them up so they're in the positions. And these are all tight, and your coilovers are on. Yeah, I mean, they probably do the most for a car, looks-wise and performance-wise, in terms of handling. And it's super easy to do. And BC Racing, this is the first set of coilovers I've had from them. I've had a couple of different brands, you know, the old 90s Japanese stuff and some more modern, I think they were Petters in my last S chassis. So we'll see how these goes. By all regards, they're pretty good, and for the price point, I think it was like 1600 or 1700 AU delivered to my door, and I live in somewhere a little more regional, so that's pretty good. So yeah, I'll quickly throw the wheels on, put it on the ground, and I'll see what we need to do, whether we need to change any heights on any of the wheels and coilovers, and just play around with it. Now we're swapping out some GK Tech steel open-ended wheel nuts. I had some steel lock nut style ones, but they're just going to be easier. I can throw a 19mm socket on it and go for gold. Now we're only putting a 3 on for the moment because we're gonna probably take the wheel off and all that sort of jazz. Now, this here is how you're going to adjust your camber. As you can see, looking straight down, it's a fair bit of poke, and I want that well further in. So I'll just go all the way. It's not that much really, and then tighten it all up. And then once that's on the ground, should get it inside the guard. Not bad. It's just easy to adjust camber. Well, it's probably the only way to adjust camber when the car's got no weight on it. And just go back around and make sure they're done up, because if you, yeah, same story as everything. If it's loose and it slides while you're driving, you'll have a bad time. So while putting the wheels on, I can, like I mentioned before, that one looks like it's sitting a lot higher in the guard than this side. Now, pretty sure last time I put these in and made them all even, this side sat, yeah, so that's at about 105 mil from the rim to the guard. And I'm pretty sure this one's about 10 or 15 mil out from memory. Yeah, it's at about 90. So I'm gonna, before I even put the wheel on, looks cool and it would sit really, really nice and low, but I'm gonna need to drop this side 15 mil to be symmetrical with the other side. So I'm gonna quickly do that now and yeah, save myself some heartache before I have to jack the car back up. Now, it's a bit hard to show this, but I want to take 15 mil out of this. So measure from the top collar to the bottom collar. It's about 30 mil. So if I take 15 mil lower out of this, it should drop this whole assembly here 15 mil. So I'll loosen this collar and then wind the whole shock down 15 mil, and then I'll measure back between this distance and keep track of it. Then put the wheel back up and see if I get the same amount of droop. So while I'm here, I should probably quickly explain how you adjust it with the shock in. So just break that locking ring free at the bottom, and then you get your large C-spanner and grab a hold of the middle ring that holds the preload for the spring, and just twist it, and it'll, because it can't go anywhere, it'll twist the whole shock inside the seat, and it'll actually raise it up. So as you can see, I've already got a couple of threads, so I'll just keep turning it this way, raising it up, and then taking measurements from the bottom collar to the top collar and making sure I get it to 45 mil before I tighten it back off. So it's a new day. Just got home from work and I finished mucking around with this. I didn't get to finish it the other day, but that's fine. So back left driver sides had some adjustment made to it to make it symmetrical with the driver's side rear. Car's back on the ground and it looks awesome. Not quite as low as I thought they would go, but it is what it is. I can muck around with getting smaller springs and different shock lengths and all that sort of stuff and get them right down, but this will be perfect to drive. It's got more travel than the other ones and they go slightly lower, so all in all a win. I still need to mess around with the front because they don't mind how dirty the garage is, but yeah, it sits, that's the back driver's side absolutely maxed out, and we've just got to where I want. I'd rather it come down to here, but so that's another sort of 10 mil. Is what it is. And the front, as you can see, is full drift fitment at the moment, so needs to come down a fair whack as well. But overall, pretty happy with it. I'll tinker with the fitment on the front to get it right. Yeah, that's how the back sits. The back can't go any lower. That's it for installing coilovers on an S13 or just a car in general. So the bolting points might vary from car to car, but it's all the same concept. Just take a tape measure and measure from the lip of the wheel to the guard, and you know, if there's any differences, you can change that difference in the threads on the shock, and yeah, it might take you a couple of goes, but you'll get around to it pretty easy. And it's probably, wheels and coilovers are probably one of the biggest things to change the look, feel and performance of a car. So for the price point, you can't really get anything cooler really. So happy with that, very happy with that. I got an email from UPS. My wiring harness should be delivered tomorrow, so that video will probably come out in a couple of weeks, but yeah, that's bloody exciting. This thing will get started which is absolutely unreal. I should, yeah, actually hear it turn on and idle properly, and I'll get some E85 in it, and yeah, I'm absolutely stoked. I'd get it all set up ready for that. I'll film that video putting the wiring harness in, and then yeah, hopefully put it around the estate at least to check to make sure there's no leaks and anything like that. Then I'll get an auto sparky to do some of the smaller finicky bits of wiring that I don't want to touch. It's been that long, I'd rather someone that knows what they're doing just do the bits and pieces, like chop into a new harness. So, and then yeah, it's pretty much ready for the dyno, so absolutely stoked on that. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that cool stuff, and yeah, I'll see you in the next couple of videos as we put in wiring into the car. Cheers.